Welcome to this episode of Ink It Up with Jessica TV. I'm Jessica Taylor, and in this video I'm going to show you how to re-ink your ink pads. So how do you know when it's time to re-ink your ink pads? They're just going to look a little bit light as you stamp them. So you'll notice that when you first get your ink pads, they have a nice bold color, and as you use them and use them and use them, the color just gets a little bit lighter and a little bit lighter and a little bit lighter. So I recommend that you purchase an ink refill when you purchase your ink pads, because then you know you're going to be able to get the color. You know that it's not going to be retired when it comes to needing your ink refill. So you're going to have the color you want right away. And this is going to make your ink pad last for a long, long time. So let's go ahead and see how to re-ink. So first I'm going to start with just a basic classic Stampin' Pad from Stampin' Up. This is a foam ink pad, and here's how you kind of know that it's time to re-ink. So if you go to stamp, especially you'll notice it with your bolder stamps, if you go to stamp, it's just going to start to be light and maybe even faded in certain spots. No matter how much you move your stamp around, you just can't get your stamp to ink up really well. So to re-ink this, you're just going to open up your ink refill. And I like to do just a little squiggle pattern. And you'll notice that on these foam pads, it just stays right at the top. It takes a long time to soak in, and when it soaks in, it's going to soak in just like these lines. So if you ink up your stamp with that, you're just going to get kind of darker lines. What you want to do is take your spoon. I just keep a plastic spoon in my stamp room, and I use it for all of my ink pad colors. And you just kind of put your fingers on the bowl of the spoon, I guess, and you're just going to use that to gently move the ink around your ink pad. So this is just going to distribute the ink evenly. And you want to let this soak in just a little bit before you stamp with it, because right now there's a lot of ink at the top and it's maybe not super even. So just let it all soak in nicely before you go back and use it. So again, I use the same spoon. I just take a tissue and clean it off in between. And then I'm ready to use it with my next color. All right, let's let that sit for a minute, and then I'll stamp it again to show you the difference. There are a few different kinds of ink pads. So this is a foam ink pad. The archival Stampin' Pads from Stampin' Up! And some of their older ink pads are felt, and so they're not as squishy, so you can ink them up a little bit differently. And by differently, I mean it's easier. So I just take the ink refill and again, give it a little squiggle, and you'll notice this soaks in right away. Now you can over ink your ink pad. So you want to add just a little bit at a time, and then if it doesn't seem like enough, add a little bit more. But it's pretty easy to over ink the foam pads. So if you do add too much ink and you notice some bubbling up at the top, all you want to do is take a paper towel and just blot some of that ink off. And you can actually use that paper towel to then sponge on some cardstock and make a really cool background to use on your cards. But anyway, if you have too much ink, just dab some of it off with a paper towel. And if you find you need more ink, just go ahead and add a little bit more re-inker refill and then spread it in with a spoon. The third type of ink pad I wanted to talk about was the VersaMark Pad. And for this one, this is also a foam pad, a little bit closer to this. But for these, I've found that I can just add the VersaMark re-inker on top and then just gently rub it in with the nozzle end of the ink refill. So that's super easy. You want to be gentle with it because you don't want to tear your pad, but you can just kind of rub it in with that tip. So that's how you're going to re-ink your VersaMark pad. And let's come back and see how much darker this Wisteria Wonder is. I can tell already that my stamp is inking up so much nicer. And look at that. That's how much darker it is. So I hope this helps you know when to re-ink your ink pads and how to re-ink them. Again, I recommend that you order a refill when you order your ink pad so that you know you'll be able to get the right color. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, hit the like button below and share it with your friends. And be sure to subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.